Okay. Do I need to call it again? I'll do it again anyways for the record. It's 6:03. I call the meeting to order. And let's start with the attendees. Let's do a roll call. Oh, no. Let's do Pledge of Allegiance first. Chip, you are my go-to guy. Can you please lead us to the into Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of
United States
America
of America
and
and
to
to
the
the
republic
Republic
for which it
for which
stands,
stands
one
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 nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
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 liberty
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 and
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 justice
justice.
for all.
Thank you so much, Chip. Okay, let's do a quick roll call. Um, Committee members, Vinita present, Chip,
Here,
Carla,
Present.
Kathy,
Here.
Siv, Susan,
Here.
Paul. Okay. Uh, Kelly, do you want to check the staff or do you want me to call out everybody?
I thought you were calling out everyone, but I can go ahead and
I
identify.
mean, I
our
can
staff.
I can do the names that I have on my agenda.
Oh, okay. So Nick Ampon is here with the facilities group,
Okay.
and myself, Kelly Lynch McMahon, and I believe that the Vanner team is here as well. I believe Lisa and Samara are here.
I am. And on your agenda, Vanita, it's Samara. You can, should probably add her last name, I guess.
Yeah, and that's
Ms.
what I
Silverman.
I actually requested Kelly to give me the last names and email IDs. I did not know any of the email IDs or the last names. So you guys have access to the agenda. I would respectfully request you guys to add the last names so I don't mess up
Okay.
with the spelling.
I can do that. No
Okay.
worries.
And send me the email addresses too, so I
Mhm.
add them to the email mailing list.
Yeah, and I'll add Stan. I'll add Stan and Judith as well.
Okay, thank you.
Judith is there.
So, Kelly, you said we have guests? We have everybody from staff, right? Do we need any
Yes,
introductions?
we have everyone that I'm aware of that's going to be attending. I wasn't aware that we had guests today.
Okay. I saw Brian Gebhardt in the guest. Is Brian here?
I see him.
I am just as a member of the public. I
Absolutely.
have no public comment or anything, just listening.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So, did anybody get an opportunity to look at meeting minutes from last meeting, which was February 2nd? 2222.
I did. It was consistent with my notes, such as they were.
Okay. Do we need a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Meeting minutes will be submitted for records. Are there any oral or written communication from the public? Kelly?
We have not received any, and I did not receive any information from my staff members.
Okay. Neither have I. I don't. Nobody reached out to me in this 1 month period regarding CBOC. And okay, good. Siv is here. And we don't have any public comments, as Brand said. Do we have anybody else in the public who wants to make any comments? Do we have any other public speakers? Hearing none, we'll move forward. We did not have any public briefings this month. And let's move on to the next agenda item, which is CBOC membership and terms of service. So FUSD board approved any new terms of CBOC members?
I did verify with Patty in the superintendent's office that the terms of service as well as the current members were board approved in September of 2021. And we have not received, well, I turned in the applications that I had you guys give me, and I was informed that those had already been authorized. So they're just on file, and the information that we've provided is correct as far as I know. So that's what I was told.
Can we get at least a new thing that shows when the current terms of service then expire? I mean, I think that I'm probably most affected because I think I'm the old lady of the committee in terms of time. And I'm not sure when mine expires at this point.
So Kelly, I looked at the board agenda, and the agenda does ask for Kathy, myself, and Chip, and I think
Vinita.
well, no, so the terms that were expiring, I think it was me, Kathy, Paul, and Chip. The agenda mentions us, but then I looked at the meeting minutes, and it's not, and we're not mentioned in the meeting minutes. So,
I'll have to find out why. I don't have an answer for you guys right now, because as I said, I reached out to Patty, who is board secretary, and that is the information that she provided me. And so if there's a conflict, then we definitely have to check back with her and get that information corrected if it's incorrect.
because the meeting minutes reflect Susan, Vanita, and one other person, but nothing, we're not mentioned in the meeting minutes.
Okay.
And Carla, you got it right, because I remember that meeting very clearly. We were temporary representatives. We were Chip, before he left the chair position, he promoted us to, he requested that we be promoted as
Right.
permanent members.
Right.
And I remember that happened. They voted on that part. I, however, don't recall anybody else being not asked to reapply, or having or the board giving them permission to stay on the board, on the committee.
Yeah, I can share my screen.
I will verify, but it was explained to me in the way that I understood it when the board took action. That was the action to approve you all as well as appoint you to the committee. And so whatever your terms would have been from, the time that you're appointed going forward, that's what your term will be. But as I said, I'll verify, because I know that we have not received any new applications, and the only ones that I did receive were the ones that you all sent directly to me. So, and I have forwarded those on. So, but I'll get verification for you all.
Thank you.
Can I jump in on this?
Sure, Chip. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So Kathy is right. She is the longest termed member. She has to serve 2 3-year terms, and her first term started in March 2017. So 6 years from then would be March 2023.
23.
Yeah. Right. So she's still got 1 more year to go. Right.
Okay. Thanks.
I think everybody's got at least 1 more year to go.
But
So
Chip,
Kelly, if you're saying that everybody was approved in September,
That's what I was told.
I'll update my table, and Benita, I'll send it out so everybody knows.
So Chip, the problem I was mentioning is that it doesn't reflect that in the board meeting minutes.
Oh, in the board meeting minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
I have no control over that, or.
So they always tell us that if it's not in the minutes, it didn't happen. Right? Isn't that the
Right.
Maybe somebody can look into the video recordings and see if the meeting minutes need to be corrected, or if we need to bring Carla and Kathy to the board agenda again
Right.
to get them approved. So probably that should be an action item, and I hope that can be done. We still have there's a board meeting coming up next week, so I hope
But
that
it
can
would
be
have to
resolved.
be on the 23rd because the agenda is already set for the 9th.
Okay.
But I can
So
show my screen if you guys want to just see it, because it was weird to me because it's talked about in the actual agenda, but then in the meeting minutes it's not. So I don't know.
Yeah, go
So
ahead
let
and
me
share.
just share it real quick. All right, can everyone see this?
Not yet. It's loading. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But do you see how this is the minutes and it mentions Jeff,
The three out.
Brian, and Ashok leaving, and then it does mention Susan, Vanita, and Siv, but that's it for this action item.
And that was the which month?
This is September 22nd, 2021, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The other issue is we've got 6 open vacant slots that we need to fill.
That has been a big troubling factor for me ever since I took over, and I had been asking everybody to promote it, but I haven't. As Kelly said, there are no applications that are coming to them.
Okay.
So it's I don't know what else we can do.
Well,
Do you guys advertise on your social media channels for your parent groups and stuff?
I post on my own page, not in FCPT or anywhere else.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if that might be helpful since a lot of people read those, those channels for information.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have any control on FCPT anymore. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Is it on
Okay.
the FUSD website that there's these vacancies?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. In multiple places.
Great.
So.
Well, fortunately, the vacancies are for alternates, so it's not quite as critical. But we should fill them.
Kelly, are you getting? Maybe you might or might not know. Is there any interest in for any other committee, or is it only us who's
No,
suffering with?
there are several vacancies in several committees. I think Laura would probably have a better understanding since she sees all the information that goes out. But there's quite a few committees that have vacancies. I think people are, it's just that busy time of year, and we just have to kind of weather the storm.
I guess it had been a busy time of year for the past 2 years. So.
Well,
okay, let's move on. I hope something can be resolved. Maybe we need to advertise more, but we need to move on to the next agenda item
okay.
if we want to finish everything. Has there been any key personnel changes in FUSD related to CTO?
Actually, facilities department has had some changes. We have a permanent staff secretary now. Her name is Christina Flores, and she came from one of our schools, and she's been here this is her second week. So she's been working out really well. And of course, you guys know Nick transitioned from the maintenance and operations department over to facilities. And then today, Lucas Bogle gave his notice as director of IT that he'll be moving on as well. And then we did lose Lelaine Cruz in purchasing 2 weeks ago as well. She was a director of purchasing, and she also left and moved on to, I think, the county of San Francisco or something like that. But yeah, we have significant leadership changes occurring in all of our business divisions.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Pardon me?
Is anybody worried about that, or is that just sort of normal? normal business?
No, it's not normal. Because we've lost 5 directors in less than 6 months.
There's been a lot
So
of turnover in the last, I'll say,
that-
18
that's a lot. So, but it's the nature of the beast, and there's a lot of work out there for people, and so it's just a matter of people making life choices for themselves and other opportunities. So
It's very sad that Lucas is moving on because he did very well for the district.
Yeah, he was pulling IT really together.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I've had multiple meetings with him when we were planning for the COVID time, so I know him personally that way.
nope, he will
Okay.
definitely be missed. That's for sure.
Yes.
His last day will be, I believe, March 9th,
Okay.
which is a week from today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next agenda item is board direction on contingency money, and as you might have seen, I have asked for some explanation about refund and Prop 51 money. Uh, Kelly, do you want to speak for it?
So I actually am still working on some documentation. I met with budget and finance today. I had wanted to have a true reconciliation completed, but we are in the middle of the interim budget development. So some of the information that I had did not jive up with what they had. And so I didn't feel comfortable in necessarily presenting it. So I will finish it and I will provide it to you all before the end of this month so that you have an opportunity to review it. But it's just making sure that everything is, perfect and not giving you all information that could even confuse you anymore, further. So, but we did get direction from the board and they asked staff to come back next board meeting with a recommendation from the Facilities Advisory Committee. And this meeting after, today after this meeting, we'll be talking about the items that were presented and having an opportunity to have discussion. And so once that occurs, then we will be bringing back whatever recommendations or comments or questions come from that meeting back to the board.
Okay, so is that meeting specifically going to be for Prop 51?
It is agendized, and so there are several questions that are specific to the Prop 51 and the Fund 25 and 40. So we'll be having lengthy discussions about that.
Okay. Anybody has any questions? I have plenty of questions, but I'll wait for the team to have questions first.
I don't have any.
Okay. Okay. So talking to the board and talking to everybody else, I was told, and we had a meeting with Ms. Pfeiffer about this particular item. We, in the sense, FAC chair and I were invited for this meeting, and I did not speak for the committee because we did not have a meeting before until then. But my concern was that, and she shared that Prop 51 money is not going to be, according to the legal aid that told them not to put the Prop 51 refund back into Measure E bond money. That was the direction that the legal team gave them. And that's why the Prop 51 money is not going to be put back in Measure E. However, it is going to be an independent fund. I was told that this is better because with Prop 50, with Measure E bond money, they have certain duration. Until then, they have to finish the money. And with the refund, they have the flexibility of not spending it until then or something like that. And Brian, please jump in because you were in that meeting, so you can share your insight about it too.
Yeah, I think if I understood the intent, I think the Prop 51 funds are technically more flexible than the bond funds, which is why they would want to go. They'd be placed in a different facilities fund. But all Prop 51, developer fees, sale of site, and the Measure E funds are all meant for capital improvements. It's just that the Prop 51 aren't necessarily required to follow the Measure E language. But I think the intent is to be very transparent about those funds as though. So it's for a technical reason why they were recommending being put in a different fund.
Why wouldn't the Prop 51 money be used for, let's say, the roof repairs?
And that actually is on the agenda for Facilities Advisory Committee after this, is to look at the facilities needs and to come up with a priority ranking, which is similar to what FAC did 2 years ago when looking at the last update to the bond implementation plan. What is different about the item Facilities Advisory is considering tonight from 2 years ago is that 2 years ago was about the bond implementation plan. The item tonight is holistically looking at all facilities, funds and needs, and prioritizing.
Well, I think for the context of the question that was asked, we are limited to the items that were presented to the board and asked to make considerations and comments on it. But speaking from my perspective, the funds from Prop 51, yes, technically, legally, we can put them in another fund. But because we've been using it to balance out Measure E, it is a very serious consideration that we need to think about very carefully. Because once we take those funds and allocate them to other projects, the safety net that is in place now for the projects that are currently under construction will be gone. So yes, we have contingencies that we have built in each one of the projects, but we've come across unforeseen conditions in the past, as well as the present, that potentially need to be used to cover the completion of those projects that we currently have under construction. So I'm not adverse to doing anything because, of course, this is a collective process and we are discussing it. But I think you all need to be very clear and understand how those funds were implemented in the budget and how they are used to balance it out, and not to forget that when we're looking at all this other stuff that we actually still need to do. Because remember, the needs assessment was $1.8 billion. The bond was only $650 million. So that's a little less than half of what the needs were that were identified. And when you accelerate and fast forward, 5-7 years compounded on top of when the initial analysis was done, there's quite a bit of difference in terms of the condition of the facilities that we are currently working on based on what we thought we would work on in 2014, 2015. So I just want you guys to use an air of caution and understand we still have current needs with everything that we have currently under construction that needs to be looked at. And I'm extremely conservative when it comes to using our contingency dollars, because it only takes one big problem to wipe out the whole fund. And where then do we have to go? We then have to go to our general fund. And that's not really an option that we want to consider. So I just wanted to share that with you all.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly, because that was the exact thing that I mentioned to the board too. When they think, oh, we have $18 million. Okay, we have lots of money now. We can spread this money and do everything we want to do. And my concern was that when you do that, you have to consider that we are looking at the projects which are going to be underfunded because of the current values current market, that everything is going up, all the prices are going up, and the contingency money that they hold might not be enough. And if we dismiss this money as something else, use it for something else, even if it is just facility, I think it is, we are putting ourselves in a very tight situation where we might not have money to finish off project measure E funded projects itself. So that's my concern on it, and I to be very frank, I'm very much opposed to putting this money as a take all money that anybody can use this bucket and take it from it. I i really am seriously worried about the projects that we have in our hand. um, if we don't, if we are not cautious, as Kelly said, if we are not cautious, we will be in a situation where some of these projects might not end up getting finished, or if they are finished, they are haphazardly finished.
Well, I
So
think haphazard's not the correct word. It's that
I might be.
they will fall short of their intended goal of
Yeah.
providing resources for the students. They'll be finished, but it's going to fall short of what is needed for it to truly service the students and the staff that are going to occupy those facilities. Because that's part of that, it's kind of like not cutting corners, but if you run out of money, you just have to finish and kind of stop where you are and kind of put Band-Aids everywhere. And so I just want us to be very, very conservative. And, it'd be different if we were past the 50% mark on the 3 projects that we have under construction, but we're not. We're barely at 50% on all 3. And I would prefer to have this conversation a year from now when we are 6 months away from crossing the finish line of having, the high impact, very sustainable and substantial scopes of work done, where we can then say, okay, we can catch our breath and see where we're at and see how the dollars are going to shake out. But I think for where we are right now, it's a very dangerous proposition for us to consider until we're a little further ahead in the completion of some of the projects that we have right now.
Well, Kelly, what that says to me is that we need to be very cautious, and the facilities department needs to be very cautious about starting new projects that potentially would run out of money too.
Correct.
And get further into the big projects we have, like you say, until we know we got enough contingency to cover any problem that could occur in the final stages.
It's very, and I hate to say that it's scary, but I and Lisa have meetings every week and sometimes conversations daily of, whoa, guess what happened today? How are we going to fix this? And what's it going to cost us? And so we're constantly in a state of flux, because it's like, okay, here's one fire over here we have to put out, and here's another 2 that popped up over here. And then by the end of the week, we get them all quieted down. And then somebody calls us at 5 o'clock on a Friday and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we forgot there's this new thing that now we have to deal with. So we're just at a very tenuous point in all the projects where I don't feel comfortable in making a recommendation and supporting that without us being in a different financial position.
I'd like to say something, and it's something I kind of mentioned at that last meeting that I attended for the board, is that they want to do another bond measure, which means that you have to be really careful about what you spend the money on now.
Yep.
And if they're not projects that maybe made some parents and some school happy, are going to be observed, and the population is not going to be happy. They have to be really careful. And, and I know the board is susceptible to pressure from parents, but I think that the projects that we're doing, that all the projects, even those outside the bond measure, are going to be examined, and they will be subject to public scrutiny. And Fremont defeated the last measure, which was unusual. What was it? Was the last?
I think the parcel tax. Was it?
Yes, I mean, and Fremont has had a history of approving them. I think that the board has to look at that and say, we have to be sensible. But that's beyond this committee here. That is my belief. But Brian can bring it to the fact committee. Sorry, Brian.
So I think this is a very important conversation because and it is a good thing that Brian is here. So at least he is able to hear us and he knows where we stand and what kind of facility development they need to approve or think about when they think about this $18 million that you have suddenly have, and it's a huge amount. It's not a huge amount, and I just want FAC to remember that we are in a very rough water. We are in rough waters, and the water is going to get even rougher. So considering all the expenses that we are gathering.
So this is Carla. Why is it that we don't have facilities recommending to wait to that 50% mark before?
Actually, I did make that recommendation to Nancy, and Kevin, Arthur, and I met with her, and we shared with her what we felt the priorities should be and the impending need for some of these things that are urgent. But the priority is to finish Measure E first. And I, of course, I am not privy to what other conversations she's had, and I am not privy nor going to speak for her as to why the decision was made to bring it forward. But that was my position, as well as, you know, the other staff that are involved in the Measure E program. So, as well as some of the other facility stuff. I mean, we have emergencies every day. We just don't have funds. And so the funds are there, and everybody wants to immediately just, oh, wait, let's put it in the bond. And we can't always do that. And so this is one of those opportunities where we have these dollars that are technically not allocated to the bond that can be used to support the other needs and address issues across the district. But it's going to leave the bond unstable from my perspective. And it will leave us, if we take the $15 million or $18 million or whatever, I can't remember exactly, we will have less than $2 million in program contingencies left. And then that only leaves the contingencies within the projects to support each one of those projects. And those funds are rapidly being depleted based on some of the issues that we are coming across on a weekly basis. So I wish I had, like great news, but it's not. It's very serious, and we have to be extremely conservative.
Okay, I don't know if this committee can do any more than discuss. The other thing we can do is probably write a letter. If you guys want, we can write a letter to the board and give them directions or suggest them directions about how to go about this money, even though we don't have any control over this money anymore.
Anita, when you say this money, which money are you referring to?
I'm talking about Prop 51 refund.
And why does anybody think the Prop 51 refund gets to go to Measure E?
Because it was Chip. Do you remember this was back when a couple of years back, and this is a kind of a refresh from the previous discussion that we had when Kathy had found that letter that was written by Brian and when it was sent around. Does that ring a bell at all, Chip?
No,
actually, Chip was missing in those couple of meetings. Okay.
Are you talking about right at the end of last year?
Brian's got his hand up, so I'll let Brian.
Brian, go ahead.
So I encourage you to look at the FAC materials and the FAC meeting, but because as chair, I proposed a prioritization framework for FAC to consider. And the prioritization framework includes completing committed projects, which is kind of what we just talked about, right? We have committed projects. The middle schools and group one are the projects I consider committed projects. That's kind of my definition.
Yeah.
And then evaluating projects after that based off of health and safety impact, instructional program impact, and equity across the district. So the thinking was that these are and that we will rank the projects based on our assessment of those criteria. That is what I'm recommending the FAC do. And I think what I personally like about that is having a prioritization framework will kind of help everybody see, like, how did we make these decisions? I think slightly separate from that is a decision of how much to keep in contingency for any projects we have going on, whether they're Measure E projects or even non-Measure E projects, like the Rick's Early Learning Center, I know has had some additional costs. So I think that's a topic also on the agenda for FAC. And I know the board is well aware of how little facilities funding we actually have left, really. That's uncommitted funds, either contingency funds or otherwise. And from the reports I've reviewed, as noted, there's 2.3 million uncommitted. Oh, sorry, wrong one. 1.2 million uncommitted Measure E funds, just taken from the last Cboc report, a financial report. And then we've received 15.5 million Prop 51 funds. And staff estimates or expects that there will be another 9.6 million in Prop 51 funds coming soon. So that kind of gives you, when you add in E-rate and developer fees and sale of site, you kind of get a total of across all funding sources of estimated 32 million in uncommitted facilities funds. And this is all part of the FAC materials you can download from the web right now, this information.
Okay. Yeah. Brian, do you want to remind Chip how, why did we think that Prop 51 money was supposed to be Measure E money?
So my opinion is that many of the decisions we made on Measure E projects were made, earlier on, were made in the context of assuming we would get Prop 51. So, for example, we built a lot of classrooms at our high schools and our elementary schools because of need. Uh-huh. And even though those weren't part of the original bond list, but there were some assumptions that we would get these other Prop 51 funding sources that would allow us the flexibility to hit those needs. And so I think that's.
So when that money was allocated from Prop 51, who was the person that said, okay, this Prop 51 money gets to go to Measure E?
So
it was
somebody at the state level or somebody in FUSD, the superintendent of schools, let's say.
I believe that the superintendent and the current, well, not the current, the associate superintendent who was in charge of the bond at that time made that decision, and that's what was carried forward. And that's what was explained to me when I arrived. And that's, what I've been doing. So I
would view it as a gift. We got lucky.
So
we got some extra money from a source called Prop 51. That doesn't mean we are always going to get it.
No, Chip.
Prop 51 needs to stand on its own.
No,
we discussed
Measure E needs to stand on its own.
Chip, this is back when we had this discussion where, in the years that we have in the past, right? So, when we had complained as a committee or had concerns as a committee about the dwindling contingency. Remember when John was still here and Aaron from Vanner? Do you remember those meetings, Chip?
Absolutely, yeah.
And the response that we would get is basically, in so many words, the response I recall was, well, don't worry too much about it because we will have Prop 51 dollars that will be replenishing the contingency. That's basically told as a committee. And that is reflected in a letter that I believe the committee had sent to the board. And then on top of that, I believe Lisa and as well as Kelly has told us that it's basically the way that is normally done. It's kind of the way that this is normally handled is in other, I don't know how Lisa had put it, kind of like the status quo.
It's like the best price.
It's the best practice. The best practice is to kind of replenish funds. And Brian had mentioned those previous projects in terms of classrooms that were not originally part, that were then said, oh, like we can spend those dollars because we have these Prop 51 dollars coming. And I think to me it's a complete to me it's a question of trust and transparency in terms of when I'm asking a question, or even when Chip, when you were asking questions about concerns about contingency, and I'm being told, well, don't worry about it, the funds will be replenished when we get the Prop 51 dollars. And then now it's like it's like I know I'm being told something else, and that would be my biggest concern.
But
if
you look at the financial report back in 2019 and 20, we got $2.96 million in Prop 51 funds.
That was
it was a reimbursement for things we spent.
Yeah.
That were spent out of Measure E. And we did go through this exhaustively in November and December. And then the committee sent a memo to the board, but they were treated as reimbursements. It was how it was done in other parts of the state as the committee met month after month after month, and we looked at the things. The reimbursements from Prop 50 were included in the assumptions as we proceeded. And I think it's probably a dead subject now, unfortunately, because it seems like they are just going to do what they want to do. But I don't think it's a gift, Chip. I kind of resent or I object to that description of it, because we did go through this exhaustively, and being on committee all this time, it was a reimbursement for things we spent, and it was.
Did we spend more than 2.9?
It was every year. Every year it's been reflected.
Some of those funds actually come back as a result of completing particular projects from the bond. It's, I don't know if you'd call it state match, but the state match funds, the applications are submitted once the projects are complete. The state OPSC funds look at it, funding looks at it, says, yes, you're approved for a certain amount. And those funds are then returned to the district based on the fact that we completed a project and either grew classroom size or what have you. Certain criteria have to apply, and then those funds are returned back up, not as a gift, but they're state matching or what have you, or returned back to the district. And typically it is backfed into the bond as it's supposed.
From a clarity standpoint, it could be useful to take the current Prop 51 funds and how many of them were projects funded out of Measure E versus developer fees versus sale of site, just for clarity, right? Of that 15.5 plus 9.6 million, I think to some of the CBOC members' point around, being very transparent about it, I think that would be potentially useful.
Well, I'll be honest, Brian, the only project that was not coming from Prop 51 dollars was the Lila Bringhurst funds. Right. Because that was developer and new construction, but everything else
They're
It was all
always
Measure projects that were completed and reimbursed.
there's
So-
multiple projects of it, but they're all
Yeah, those are that's the only one that I'm aware of.
And I hear from other trustees from other throughout the state, they have a standard practice. Prop 51 money goes to the measure uh, to the to the construction bonds that they have in their unifieds.
return back to the
So
farm.
yeah, so
Right.
it's not only us who is asking this question, because when other I have some friends who are school board trustees or who have been school board trustees, and they have told me, why will your unified do this at all? This is not how it should be done. So and then I was told that it is committee's responsibility to speak up and make sure that the money gets to the bond. So that's the reason why I brought it up, and that's the reason it's on the agenda.
I can go ahead and have listing of, you know, what we've been reimbursed from the beginning of the bond until now. I think that there was a document that was already generated for board review, but as far as I know, and I'm only speaking from how long I've been here, we've only had Lila Bringhurst that was not a bond measure project that received funding. And even that funding, we had to give it to the developers, you know, because of the agreement that we have that, you know, we were not entitled to the full I think it was $31 million that was received. So we only received a portion of that. So that's, you know, also kind of on the table and being reviewed. So
Okay. So as a committee, do you think we should write another letter to the board or not?
I
No?
don't know what I would say.
I would say yes.
That's what I thought that we should. It is
I think it would
as
say, to answer Chip's question, I think it would say that our understanding is that this is not best practices, that it is that the action that the board wants to take by basically having it in a separate fund is not best practices. It's not a standard practice, and that, you know, we as a committee have concerns that we, you know, previously reported our contingency being very low, and that we were told in the past that Prop $51 would help replenish the contingency, and now that's not what's happening. And that is another concern in terms of, one, feeling as if there's a lack of transparency, and two, from my perspective, I feel like there's a lack of trust in what I'm being told, to be completely truthful.
and we have the letter that CPOC committee sent out a couple of years back, which was a record, and that is the reason why how I came to know about the conversation too. Before that, I did not know what happened before me. So it's also a record keeping for us to share that we have concerns. If we don't do this, I feel that it will be taken. It can be taken for future that we did not even object to what happened with the Prop 51 money.
We did object in December, and they said legal counsel says they have a position that contradicts what our objection is.
Right.
This is a bureaucracy.
Yeah, it's a bureaucracy.
And, you know, and I have been willing to
Give it up.
storm the Bastille many times in my life, and did in December. And there's times when it's not going to happen. There is an intransigency at some places. And we can, if somebody wants to write something, we can send it from the committee, but I will guarantee you it's going to be like spitting into the wind.
Yep.
And that's my considered opinion, but.
I think we need to write something, because, you know, what they do with it, that's up to them, and that will reflect in whatever record, Kathy. It's, you know, if we in a sense, turn a blind eye, then I don't think that that is helping anything.
I don't think we've turned a blind eye. And I even raised it at the board meeting, whatever that horrible thing was in March, in February, 11:20 at night. I raised it in person. So, you know,
And you spoke very well also, Kathy, but I think for record purposes, I really would agree with Carla that we have to write that letter and put it in the record. So not only the future committee members, but also the board members understand where we come from, why we said that, why we are contesting it, why we don't agree with them. As an oversight committee, I think it is our responsibility to make sure that the bond money is spent properly, and there is a record of where and how it was spent and used,
what about
including the refund.
what about the tactic of saying, okay, they said legal counsel has said this, and this is not to the board. This is legal counsel has, well, I guess legal counsel's advised the board, is asking a representative of the legal counsel to speak to the committee to explain how exactly they have decided this, given how it's done elsewhere and what we were led to expect. I mean, that's at least asking. It's rather than just going, we don't agree with you and we don't think you're being transparent. That's putting a practical thing saying, if legal counsel has said this, then would you please have legal counsel speak to us and tell us exactly how they came to this decision? Because it seems to be contrary to past history as well as what current practices are elsewhere.
I think we can do both.
Yeah. Maybe in the same letter that Carla is talking about, we can address that we would like to talk to legal counsel and we would like to invite them to our meeting next month and to hear from them how
right.
they came to this conclusion.
I will pass the message on.
Okay. Carla, would you like to still write the letter?
I mean,
I can help you with that. So
I think that we should still write a letter, and but it has to be, you know, from the
for the committee.
And if the committee's not in agreement, then I don't know.
Can we take a vote?
I got to see what the letter's going to say. I won't say it's a good idea or a bad idea, but I just don't know what the letter's really going to say. So let's see it in writing and then decide.
Well, you know what? Why don't we, and this is just something that I think would be helpful. Why don't you guys see the financial report that's being presented today? And then after you have an opportunity to see where those dollars land, you can then revisit this conversation at the end of the meeting and decide which direction you all want to go. Because that way you'll be able to see exactly what I've been trying to say and that Lisa has also explained. You guys can actually see what it is that we're talking about.
So unfortunately, Chip is going to leave in 4 minutes.
Okay.
And that's the reason why I wanted us to reach a conclusion. I know what you're saying, and I would love to see that anyways. But since Chip will be leaving, I want to have, if we have to vote on it, I would like to vote on it now instead of later. Yes.
Just for a voting item, that's not on the agenda. So I'd suggest
it is actually on the agenda.
for
says action item, letter to the board. That was.
I'm sorry. Never mind.
Yes.
My bad.
No, that's okay. And thank you for keeping me on my toes. So I know, I remember.
Are we voting to send a letter or to write a letter? And,
of course,
and
when we write
at another date.
Say it again, Chip.
Are we voting to send a letter that hasn't been written yet? Or are we voting to draft a letter and have it reviewed by the committee at the next meeting or some future time? What's the motion?
So if we go with the second one, the issue is that the letter will be too late. That's my concern, unless we want to have an emergency meeting in the middle of the month sometime.
Now, that's that action on these facility projects could happen as early as next Wednesday's board meeting. At least is what I've been told. Just as a FYI.
Okay.
And these are the facility items that FAC is reviewing in their meeting.
Which is next Wednesday. Any thoughts?
I think it is worth sending a letter, if anything, for just documentation purposes. And if the letter says something as simple as, you know, we previously were, I think I found the memo that Brian had sent, and it says one of the recommendations is all matching funds from Proposition 51 be allocated to the bond program contingency until the contingency risks have been resolved. I mean, we could refer to this letter and just say that we, as a committee, would like to renew our concerns about the low level of funds in the contingency and ask that, similar to the memo written on May 31st, 2018, that the recommendation would be all matching funds from Prop 51 be allocated to the bond program contingency. I mean, it could be as simple as that.
And I'll agree to Carla on that. Why can we take quick? Okay, we can do it two ways, as Chip said. We can write a letter, but then if we want approval, we will have to come back to the committee, right? We'll have to have a meeting, or can we do it on in the emails with the content that Carla mentioned? Laura, do you have any insights on it?
No, that's a little bit past what I might be able to help you with. And I'm going to just try to stop helping because I need to read the agenda better.
No, that's okay. Don't please don't take it otherwise. You are always welcome to guide me.
I mean, I'll just jump in and say, typically, I've recommended committees delegate authority to the chair to communicate to the board, both in writing and in verbally, you know, based on the direction from the committee, which, you know, we take it with a vote. And that's actually what we did at FAC on the managed emergent SDI program recommendation from the FAC. And then so the committee has to trust in their chair that they will faithfully fulfill that duty. But that, I think, is really only, that's what I would recommend for a situation like this.
Thank you, Brian. I just want to mention I will be out of town on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So whatever we have to do, if the committee agrees to doing what Brian recommended, we'll have to do it sooner rather than later. But okay, we need to move on. So please come to consensus sooner, please.
So I'd like to make a motion. I move to give the CBOC chair authority to write a letter that specifically references the memo from May 31st, 2018 that was sent by CBOC, in which it recommends that all matching funding from Prop 51 be allocated to the bond program contingency until the contingency risks have been resolved, and then just renewing that recommendation.
Any seconds? Okay. Any seconds? I'll ask one more time. Kathy, you are on mute. I think so.
I'm sorry. You'll have to reference the reply from the superintendent to our message of December too. I mean, you have to reference both things. You have to reference the reply that he made, and then I guess the verbal reply that legal says the
Can I have a second before we start discussing all that thing? So
I'll second it, though I do think it's spitting into the wind.
okay. Okay. So after that, Kathy, you were saying something, and I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, I was mumbling to myself.
Oh no, I was talking with Kathy. But anyway, that's okay.
I think
That's okay.
Kathy was just making the point that we also need to reference the response that was received.
Yes, and that makes sense, of course. Now that we have motion and a second, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor,
I,
say
I,
Susan
I,
says,
yeah, we'll test it out. Yeah.
all those not in favor, say nay.
Nay.
So we have 2 ayes, 1 nay, and Kathy and Siv have not voted.
So 3. You have 3.
yeah.
Is me. So Carla, Vanita, and then
I don't see
And
Siv
Kathy.
anymore.
Say it again.
I don't see Siv anymore.
Okay. So Carla, Siv, and Susan think that we should write a letter, and Chip says nay. Well, the motion passes.
No motion passes. That's fine.
The motion passes with 3 ayes and 1 nay. Okay. Kathy?
I said, and 1 abstain, even though I seconded the motion just to get it to the table.
Okay. So
Vanita,
Carla, say it again, Chip.
I said I've got to run. I'm sorry. But
Yes,
I think we
I
got through
understand.
that. And
Yeah, thank you for coming.
okay.
We have other things to discuss though, but that's okay. Thank you. Carla, you and I and Susan can get together and write the letter. And if Kathy wants to join in, she's more than welcome to join us. Is that okay, Carla?
Yes.
And Susan? Okay, great. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, which is we are way late. The budget report, the February 2022 Measure E budget report.
I am going to turn it over to Samara to go ahead and report out on that for you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So there's nothing like too exciting to report that's different this month. Just to give you kind of a snapshot, 81% of the, sorry, it's hard to read on that one. 81% of the anticipated funding has been received, 72% has been committed, and 58% has been billed. The program has committed to 89% of the funding it has received. And in terms of what it's actually spent, the program has paid a little over 80% of what has been committed. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was doing that. I'm not used to the Google share. And then scrolling down to the breakdown as usual by project.
If you can keep it zoomed in, we can probably see. Right now, they all look like dots, but that's okay.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
I'm just going to scroll back up to the top to. Okay. Yeah, like I said, there's not that much of a change in terms of expenditures and budget that's unusual. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, but that's about it.
I think, Samara, it's clear to point out one of the things that Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer wanted to have identified for you all clearly was to, call out the various line items so that, the $18 million wasn't all lumped together. So the E-rate is the 1.5 that we get annually in rebates for our technology and consumable electronics. The OPSC state funding is the Prop $51 that we've been talking about. And then the program contingency is the $1,227,000, which actually includes the interest earned on the monies that we have from the bond dollars.
Right.
So just so that you guys can see, so if OPSC state funding goes away, you can see what the program contingency then looks like. So I just wanted you guys to see it because it's better to understand it when you see it than to try and theoretically talk about it.
And then I think I would interject the next line, additional allocation for Hopkins and Centerville. That $4 million Kelly has mentioned before, but Kelly and I are going to go, we're going to present and try and ask to have that released to Hopkins and Centerville because of the magnitude of dry rot and termite damage that we've encumbered just in the first halves of those two projects.
Yeah.
So and hopefully in the near future, we might go and see if we can ask to have that released to the projects. To give you an example, I was working with our contractor, our CM and our developer at Hopkins today, and we were going back and looking at the amount we've spent thus far, and we've spent close to $400,000, almost $500,000 just in additional costs for replacement of dry rot and termite damage. So,
So
it's no good to have a wooden building anymore.
So is this the total extent, or are you still figuring out if there is more dry rot anywhere else?
We will have some more at Hopkins. We have one building left that they're continuing to process their changes, and we're still pulling off dry rot. You have to chase it back. So they're still pulling off. So I'd anticipate probably another $75,000-$80,000 in that building because it's the cost to tear it all off and then the cost to replace it all. And then the finishes in front of that kind of thing. So
don't you think
I'm sorry?
Don't you think it makes more sense if you get the total of the whole project instead of half and half? Because when you do that, when you bring in a partial amount now and then another partial amount next month or 2 months from now or whatever time, it just looks bad that the project was not done completely the first time.
Well, I think too, one of the strategies that, Lisa and I have talked about is that, we want to make sure that we have permission to use the dollars because we're not always aware or prepared to actually spend it. And so as you guys know, cash flow is king when we're moving at the pace we're moving for construction. And so for the sake of being expedient as well as conservative, we're going to ask now so that when this work will be occurring over the summer, that cash is available to then actually spend and keep the project moving. Because if we have to kind of stop, wait for board action, get approval, then reinitiate, we've lost time in our schedule. And so this is a preemptive opportunity for us to actually now have positive cash flow that we've calculated downstream that we're going to need. And as you guys know, we are selling the last series of bonds this year. So that will also bring an infusion of additional dollars to support all the projects that actually have to be finished. Even though everything's been allocated, we only have 80-something% of the cash in hand. So that's what this is about, is making sure that we are flush with funds to be able to make sure that we can keep moving at the pace at which we're moving.
Okay.
But I do agree with you. You're absolutely right.
Because I have heard that feedback from one of the trustees. Um, so that's the reason why I was giving you that feedback, and I had been thinking about it anyway. So, looking at the amount, it's 4 million, right? And
Correct.
the contingency we have is 1.2. Where is the rest of money going to come from?
I think that's a separate line item.
Yeah, that's
It
in addition to that contingency line. They're separate.
Right, they are separate line items, but the budget, if you look at the total budget for the project, initial budget, it says 9 and what is it, 9.8, right? And then revised budget is 4 million, 4 point almost 4.2. Am I reading it wrong?
No, you're reading it correctly. It's my understanding that there was an analysis done that they chopped that budget in half and reallocated the other $4 million someplace else throughout the projects.
And we're going to put
Yeah,
some
that's
information
accurate. That
together
was
on
there was an original allocation in the updated implementation plan
Right.
of $9 million in kind of contingency for unforeseen circumstances in the middle schools, and about half of that has already been used, and what's remaining is what's left, which
So after this, there will be nothing left. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, remember, the district is constantly getting dollars from Prop 51 based on applications and getting reimbursements. So like they said at the last board meeting, we're anticipating another $6 million being received. Well, that's in this quarter, and then maybe by September we might get another $4 or $5 million for some other things that we had applied for that now are being funded. So it's kind of like a rolling sort of tally that you total up at the end of the year. So right
Yeah,
now,
but on the
that's
other
right
hand,
with that.
in the previous agenda item, that's what we talked about. We cannot count on Prop 51 money.
That is correct.
So when we are talking about this line item gone and the contingency money is not significant, that means we are totally relying on Prop 51 money. And if we don't have Prop 51 money, then the future projects or future dry rods cannot be treated. With
I have another question too. So, for each of these projects, do we have any contingency embedded in each one?
Yes, each
Yes.
project
Okay.
does have a contingency embedded in it. So this
So there's a
program
10%.
contingency- Right. So think of the program contingency as the umbrella that sort of drapes over everything. So when those reserve funds at the project level are exhausted, the umbrella now has coverage to then be able to draw from. And so that's what we're looking at here.
So actually, this is one of the things that I've been thinking too. I mean, I support writing a letter, but at the same time, I feel like we should kind of like do a little bit more, maybe analysis or homework to see how much contingency we have left for each project. Whether we have a case here to say, hey, there's a high risk, maybe we still have some money left here and there to allow us to finish the project. So just by having a general clause, I mean, I know right now we're in a very difficult situation where we have supply chain issues, labor shortage issues, but at the same time, I think it'd be better if we have more information to kind of demonstrate, hey, we're indeed really out of contingency based on these few projects, and these are like more risk upcoming for the future. Therefore, we request to keep that the Prop 51 money. So I think we need to have that data before we can.
So actually,
put a
Kelly
letter
did
in.
mention it last month that the project cost that we have right now is actually going to multiply by 25%, right? Increase by 25% or something like that.
There are certain supplies that we are experiencing a 25% jump in cost. So cumulatively, last year, Engineer News Record, which is our entity that kind of monitors inflation, it was at 13.7% nationally. California, New York, Florida, and Texas are always a little higher than the average of what goes on in the rest of the country. But on average, last year, as of December 31, across the board, it was like 13.7 in terms of inflation. Normally, in a regular scenario of a great competitive bidding environment, we normally only see between 5 to 7% inflation. So that's double what we normally experience in half the period of time. So it's definitely something we're looking at, we're addressing. We've got great contractors who are very competitive and have been very creative in how they've procured a lot of our supplies, but we still have a long ways to go, and we are starting to experience and feel the pain of what's going out in the marketplace right now. So, and I agree. I will be happy to work with Lisa to put together a document that will
We can
show
go
you
through that.
guys where our pain points are. And
So will it be, Kelly, will it be possible for you to do that by maybe tomorrow or day after? Because as I said, I have to leave and the letter has to be sent out to them before Monday.
you know, can we talk to you in the morning once I have a chance to talk to Lisa?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You have my
And we
number. You can
put-
call me.
If nothing else, we can put something together for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm sorry. We are really very, very late, so we have to rush. Update on Measure E financial statements. Do we have any updates?
That's this, right?
That's
Oh,
it.
is that-
Okay. Okay.
I don't know why I got to see it. Oh, I see.
Okay. Staffing report. I know there was something about the staffing report in the last board meeting. Kelly, do you remember?
I believe the staffing report last board meeting, we were just talking about these particular items, and I shared with you guys the.
No, the staffing report where we are planning to hire in-house.
Oh, that staffing report. I'm sorry. I call those new hires. So that's not staff, but we're talking the same thing.
Yes.
So the board approved the creation of 5 new positions, and those positions are a bond program manager, project stabilization agreement specialist, a bond director, which is a financial person, not a construction person, and a bond construction manager and a project manager. All of these positions are temporary / permanent temporary positions because they're only funded as long as we have funds available from the bond. And once the bond is retired, those positions then go away and are not affecting our general fund and the obligations that we have with permanent employees. So we are in the process of working with the, what do they call it? The Employment Commission to get these advertised and go through all the things that we're supposed to go through. And we will have those positions hopefully available for us to start hiring sometime in April or May.
Okay. Carla, you have your hand raised.
Yes. So are these, it sounds like these positions are being funded by the bond. Where is that money coming from?
So as you guys remember, we de-scoped Vanner's contract last November, and we took away, I believe it's about $2.2 million from the remaining contract. And we're using those dollars that were taken from Vanner, and we're then using those dollars to pay for these positions.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I think we are satisfied with this report. However, I want to mention that before the staff brought this agenda item to the board, Brian and I had a meeting with Ms. Pfeiffer, and we had our concerns about staffing and how the staffing was going to be done. I did not, as I said, I did not speak for the committee. I spoke for myself, and we had the same questions, Carla, that you asked. So, okay, I just want to be transparent with all of you guys. I don't want anybody to think that I'm having any meetings behind your back.
No, it's been very clear since Nancy's been here that she would really desire to have, some of this stuff move in house, which makes sense. So, I mean, that's their option.
Okay. Do we have monthly status project status report?
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to go ahead and
Yeah.
share that with you guys.
And I will do it very quickly since we're out of time. What I've done is let me share. Let's see if I can get this up here correctly. Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, here we go. Share. Okay. What I've done is I've dropped this into a PowerPoint presentation so that we can give you some pictures.
Okay.
So it's the same report. And you can see it. Why is it all gray in front of mine?
We can see it
Go
though.
away. Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, I just thought it might be nice and convenient to have it all in one place and then allow us a vehicle to give you some pictures as well. So I've taken the same report that we usually provide and go down. So we have, as you can see, the same report, the one that I usually send you, or we send you prior to the meeting. So design Thornton Middle School conversion. We have 2 steps forward on that project. Increment 3B, which we have been reporting was approved by DSA, but sitting, waiting for phase 2 to complete. And then increment 4. Increment 4 was, which is the admin library, was approved by DSA last week. So that is allowing now the team to move forward with putting increment 3B and increment 4 out to bid. So that will be happening here in the next month or so. With increment 3B going to the whole result going to the board May 11th. Increment 4 now, I have to correct that, or I have a correction. Increment 4 is actually going to go to the following board. So probably the first one in June. And then those projects will, or those portions of the project will be able to begin as well. All of that geared around swinging out of the existing buildings at Thornton, the classrooms, et cetera, moving into the new structures. And then 3B is the existing classrooms and admin office, as well as the library admin 4, increment 4. They will start over the summer. Centerville Middle School Centerville Middle School conversion, that's the GMP 3 that was discussed previously. They removed the interim housing locker room from that scope. We asked the developer to revise his GMP, came in just a little under another $1 million there, as was reported to the board. And so that GMP has been processed. The agreement for that GMP has been processed, and we're just waiting for that documentation to come back from legal. We'll issue NTP for that, and that work will start this summer as well. We've already completed, or the team has already completed a pre-construction meeting, and they're moving on with that portion. So that portion is the final portion of work that needed to be bid out for Centerville. So now Centerville is completely contracted. And as soon as Thornton, those 2 increments get bid out there, then Thornton will be under complete contract as well. Kennedy High School modernization, we're in construction documentation there. It's been approved by DSA. Initially, the architect is now addressing the DSA comments, and we have a back check appointment at the end of this month to go back into DSA. They will back check the comments and get final approval. And our hope and desire is to get this out to bid shortly after that, with a late April board approval and early May, if not sooner, notice to proceed. That will allow them the opportunity to, between the end of April and the middle of June, when school gets out, to set up the interim housing, and we can start swinging the first phase of construction out of the existing buildings, and off we go. The group ones, we have a presentation going to the board next week for the initial scoping presentation for review and approval, and then shortly after that, the architects will very quickly move into final CD and go into DSA, probably the first part of May, and then those 5 projects will subsequently then go out to bid, and we can start construction hopefully this summer as well. Under the construction group, we have Hopkins. A lot of updates going on there. All of the buildings are moving along well. We are in building G and H are the last two. The science classroom building and the new library building are the last two that were under construction. And the building G is the one that has the most dry rot still. So they're still addressing that. But we're in various phases of construction. Things are coming along very well. We are scheduled to have things ready and prepared for the site to come back shortly after the last day of school. First, moving Corey and his staff back into the admin office areas, and then bringing the rest of the site back from Bringhurst, so that the Bringhurst thing then I think be occupied sometime this summer as well by another site. So all of that is in the works for Hopkins. Thornton is in increment 2. They're completing increment 2, which are the new buildings, and that is anticipated to finish right in line with starting up the summer scope, which is the remainder of the project, the increment 3B and increment 4. Those will swing into the new buildings and start construction in the existing buildings. Centerville right now is in a little bit of a lull until this summer, when they make their next major push of the remainder of the existing buildings. But while that is, pending, their major focus is building the new building, which is building H, and that's the new 2-story classroom building. And they're also working on building K, which is an existing portable that is houses the weight program that was found to have excessive dry rot. Oh, whoops, sorry, it did it again. Excessive dry rot, as you see here, and that we've been reporting that, that's a not to exceed of about $414,000 for that particular building. And then Horner Locker Room expansion project is complete. It's in DSA closeout, but the one thing we were waiting on, which was delayed as a supply chain delay, was the fencing, because everything that's metal, even if it's got metal in it, is seriously delayed. But the fencing arrived starting on Monday and actually finished today. They'll be doing final cleanup tomorrow. So Cindy, the principal there, will now be able to go ahead and occupy those 2 locker room portables and continue with her locker room program. So everything's moving along quite quickly and quite fast, or quite well. So Thornton MS conversion. So I just thought I'd add some pictures here. So here you go. These are the new structures. This is phase 2 new buildings. So some really nice pictures, and these buildings have come out really nice. Some concrete going down, some flooring, some work on the interiors. This is what the interior spaces look like. This space in the middle on the bottom is waiting to get new flooring. The floor is prepped there. That's why it's so shiny. More pictures of the new structures from different angles. Just some work in progress photos. But I wanted to give you some pictures of the actual buildings themselves, and the painted various colors. They've come out really nice. They're really nice buildings. So those will, as I said, complete just in time to go ahead and swing into them this summer and start construction on the other side of campus. Then we have Centerville Middle School conversion. So this is the new building. This is building H, 2-story classroom building. Just various phases.
You are frozen, unless mine is frozen.
Oh no! Is it? Can anyone else see phase 3?
Nope.
No, we just see the slide saying Centerville MS conversion photos.
Now?
See if you just do a refresh, Lisa.
Oh, watch! I'll lose it. Dang it.
Sorry.
Oh no! It's not.
We lost her. She'll come back on. There she is.
Oh, there she is. You're on mute.
Refresh. Clearly I pushed the wrong button. All right. Okay. So now can you see? Come on, baby. There we go.
Yep.
Phase 3.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so phase 3 new classroom construction. So this, as I said, is the new building at Centerville. So you can see how large it is. Starting at the top left down to the bottom right corner is where we are today. Well underway, and that building is scheduled to be complete of course, next summer. So
So what building is this in Centerville?
this is the new classroom building. So
The one right next to Fremont Boulevard?
yeah, yes, it's actually at the back of the campus, toward the back
Okay.
of the campus.
Okay.
But
Not the theater room, but the one right next to the theater. Is that the one? I mean, I don't.
where it
I,
is on
I
the campus,
yeah.
it's toward the back right portion of the campus. If you're going through the middle,
Okay.
it's the big one that looks
Okay.
like this. The big metal one.
Okay.
It's the big one that looks like that. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've seen Centerville maps, so that's why I was trying
Yeah.
to relate to it, but I guess not.
Yeah,
Everything looks alike, so they all look same.
Yeah, this is all one building. It's just a course. Since you hadn't seen any pictures, from top left to bottom right is where we are right now.
That's
And
huge.
then these are just a couple of pictures of the portable that they're working on. And they do get a new trash enclosure as well. So I thought I'd give you a couple of pictures of the new trash enclosure, massive thing, masonry block, built to Fremont Unified Fremont City standards. So it's going to be a nice trash enclosure.
Do we need
If
it?
you're excited about that, we do need
Are
it. I'm sorry.
I mean, do they even produce that much of trash in a day?
Oh yes, yeah, and it'll be nice because then it'll all be enclosed in this large structure so that it's not sitting out getting dug through and what have you. Hopkins Middle School. So we have phase 2 and 3 buildings A and B, which are existing buildings. A used to be the old office and will still be the old office. B used to be the old library and is now a classroom building, or it's becoming a couple of classrooms. So this picture on the left is the new admin office, the new entrance for the school, which is on the side of where it used to be in the main central core. So if you're looking at where the new parking lot is, you pull in the new parking lot. If you drop a student off there, they can walk right into the new main office here, right from the new parking lot. And this is the interior of the new office. So you've got the picture in the middle is the main admin area. So, and then the window over here on the left that you see, that's it's all storefront windows here. So that's going to let a lot of nice natural light in, but it's a really nice big space for them, which they hadn't had in the past. So that's A and B. Then we have, buildings E, which is the locker room, and G, which is the new science modernization, or the modernized science wing. So these are existing structures also that have been modernized, gutted and redone. So nice, great big locker rooms, boys and girls. And this is one area where this is going to be the restroom in the locker room, but you can see it's nice, open, light colors. The tiles really nice. The bottom is building G, which becomes their science classrooms. This is where they are today, putting up. Actually, this is about a week ago. These photos I have. So the drywall is actually already up in these spaces, and I thought I'd like you to see a picture of one of the roofs and the amount of HVAC units that are going up on these roofs, each one in serving individual spaces. So a lot of HVAC on this project. All 3 projects have the same multiple 70 to 90 units that serve independently each space. So there's a lot of stuff up on the roof there.
And then you will add a solar panel to it, right? Or not?
Not currently.
No,
Not
you will, there will be added solar panels.
There's going to be solar canopies at that site in the
Right.
parking structure. So there will be solar at that site. Because the roof is so congested, that's why we're doing the canopies at Hopkins in the parking area.
Yeah.
It'll cover equal ground, but just nice big shade structures that the cars will be under.
But that is not part of this project.
Right.
So, okay. And then these are our 3 new buildings. So the building on the left is the large gym building, the multi-purpose building. And you can see in the back on the picture on the left, the building in the back on the left is the new music building. K1 and or K2, I mean, and then the picture in the back, which is all of the steel metal framing, that's our new kitchen area. Again, on the top right is the new kitchen. And then the bottom, the building on the bottom is building J, which is on the opposite side of the campus, adjacent to the neighborhood. And this is going to be the new 2-story classroom building. It's in a U shape. So this is where they are today in terms of they've got all of the final big steel up. Now they will follow back now with all of the sheet metal framing, the metal stud framing, which you see in the picture on top. That's going to be our kitchen. We have worked with the contractor and done a lot of acceleration and schedule, working on their schedule so that they can commit to bringing our kitchen building online this summer in time for serving out of that kitchen. So that's going to be a success story that we'll be able to share to tighten up that schedule enough to be able to finish that. The multi-purpose building will not be finished at that time. That will continue on through the end of summer and a little into the fall. But he has committed to finishing the kitchen, so we have that to serve out of, so we do not have to set up a temporary kitchen at that site, which is going to be very nice.
Okay.
And work out very well for the school. And then the last is the projects that are in design and procurement, which are just our 6 Kennedy and our 5 little group ones. So as they come forward, I'll start adding some pictures for those as well. But that's it.
Well, thank you for sharing those pictures. We really needed to see them.
Yeah, and I will change.
Thank you, Lisa.
Try and get as many as I can get in there.
Yeah, thank you. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Show the pictures.
Good. I'm glad.
Is this presentation accessible, or can we be sent it? Or
yes, we can send it. I wanted to present it and then confirm with you that it is something you are interested in continuing. We'll do that if but I didn't want to assume until we had the opportunity to present it to you.
Oh,
but
no,
yes,
we would definitely love to have them in our mailboxes so we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start sending this report out as the report that we send you in addition, along with the financial report.
Yes.
Instead of just the 3-sheet report that we have been doing. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
So there was a question asked in the board meeting about Vallejo Mill project status. I do not see it in the report today, but I think I would love to see it in the
Vallejo
next.
Mill's one of the group 1s.
Okay.
So that's going to be that's one of the ones that's getting we're going to present the scoping presentation to the board next week, and then these projects won't start till this summer.
Okay.
So
okay, fair enough, because the parent comment came and they were very upset about Vallejo Mill Measure E bond money projects. I said, okay, I have no idea. I need to ask you guys to update us so that we don't want anybody to be angry at us or you guys for not keeping their needs in mind.
Well, in these projects at this point, there's Brookvale. In this group, there's Brookvale, Green, Matos, Mission Viejo, and Vallejo Mills. But these projects are solely flooring replacement, HVAC replacement, and a little roof repair.
Okay.
So that's what those projects.
Yeah, I don't remember what exactly was the comment. Was it because they have a small multi-purpose room, or was it something else? I don't remember. On
They
top of my
actually have a canopy shade structure that they fundraised for, that they want to have installed. And the location as well as the size that they want cannot be accommodated in the configuration that they've identified. So we're working with folks to figure out how to make it happen for them. So.
Okay.
Got it.
So you're on top of it, right? I don't have to worry about it. Okay. We have covered most of it. Can I have a motion to agendize rest of it for next meeting? We
this
did
is
not
Carla.
get to...
I move that we table the rest of the agenda for the next meeting.
Thank you, Carla. Can I have a second, please? Thank you, Kathy. All those in favor, please say aye.
I
Any opposed, say nay. Motion moves forward, and we will table rest of the items for the next meeting. Uh, are there any other things that we would like to discuss in the next meeting?
were we still going to have a presentation about the Brown Act?
That is one of the things that I requested you guys to make the motion for. So I really would like to have the legal team to come to us and talk to us about Brown Act and how we can make sure that we are not violating anything. Kerry, you're on mute.
I'll be happy to work with other staff to make that happen.
Thank you so much. Anything else we want to bring up for next meeting?
Is that the same legal staff that would also potentially discuss Proposition 51 with us? So could we also could we make it 2 items, since if they're going to come?
You know, I'm not sure. We have about 4 legal teams that we work with, so I have to verify which one we would actually be using for this particular one. I'm sure they're all capable, but I don't want to misspeak and say yes and it be a totally different firm that, you know, doesn't do what we're talking about.
So can we also have the legal team who was discussing Prop $51 to come to our next meeting?
I will discuss that with Associate Superintendent Pfeiffer.
Okay.
And she can direct me as to who that would be.
Okay. And I'll really appreciate it, Kelly, if you can reach out to us or at least me, and let us know whether that will be possible at all. So we are better prepared and we have our questions ready and we come with our belts tightened. So
I will do my best.
Thank you. Is there any other item that we would like to discuss right now, or can we, or else I can have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Thank you, Carla. Kathy? Second.
I have to laugh, Kathy, and I know that we're ready to go, but when you do that, it reminds me of those little old ladies in church. And when the pastor's talking and something is good, they go.
Oh, you know, little old lady. Oh, God.
So I just thought that was funny.
Kathy's a young lady.
Yeah, you know.
You guys have a wonderful week ahead.
You all too.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Good night.
Good night.